Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about wheated bourbons. And we'll talk a little about the history of wheated bourbons. We'll talk about 5 of my favorite wheated bourbons. And then we'll do a bit of a geography and music lesson related to wheated bourbons. We'll get to that in just a minute. But first of all, I want to tell you about the Bar Cart Co-op. These are some good friends. Distiller's Talk. That's a show with Alan Bishop, Christy Atkinson. They talk with distillers from all over the place about anything and everything in terms of distillation. Fascinating show. Always very interesting guests, and it's always fun to hear Alan and Christy interact with each other and the guests they have on their show. Alan also has a couple other shows. One is called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. If you're a distiller, you got questions about distillation, ask Alan. He'll post a video response to your question, and we'll all learn something in the process. If you have ghosts, you have everything is another Alan Bishop show. He gets into everything that paranormal, unusual, mysteries, Sasquatch, religion, about everything but spirits. Whiskey spirits, that is. My Whiskey Den, Pat and Mike and Mitch, every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Tune in and see those guys. They've got some wonderful guests. They have some fun tastings. And the folks in the chat are usually pretty darn cool. Whiskey in My Wedding Ring with David Levine. David has some very good guest distillers on his show that he interviews. He also has a great blog where he posts reviews of lots and lots of different whiskeys. So be sure to check that out. As for our show, if you're watching us right now, hit subscribe over on YouTube. We would love for you to hang out with us on a regular basis. You can also listen to the show on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast services. We have a Facebook page where we post everything about these shows. We have a Facebook group where I'll post unusual things in the world of whiskey, like here are my top 5 favorite wheated bourbons and 5 things you need to know about geography and music as it relates to wheat. So, okay, whatever. It'll be fun. Trust me. So follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. I post a lot of photos of the things that I'm drinking, and occasionally we'll post some reviews and tasting notes for your enjoyment. So let's talk about wheated bourbons. It's widely considered that pre-Prohibition, wheat was being used as a flavoring grain in whiskeys. At that point, it wasn't bourbon, but because bourbon had not been quote unquote invented or declared as a particular category or whatever you want to call it. But wheat was being used pre-Prohibition. Then even during Prohibition, Stitzel Weller started using wheat in their bourbon. And yes, they were one of the distilleries that had the medicinal rite of passage or right of approval to continue distilling bourbon during Prohibition. So they had that going on. And then after Prohibition, Stitzel Weller continued to make a wheated bourbon. Julian Van Winkle, yes, that Van Winkle, he was the head man over at Stitzel Weller, actually gave the mash bill recipe and the yeast strain to T.W. Samuels so he could go start Maker's Mark. Samuels later tweaked it a bit, but that's how Maker's Mark got its start. And then, from there, it's just wheated has kind of ebbed and flowed over time as a flavoring grain in our bourbons. So today you've got lots of options out there. Some of the more popular ones are still Maker's Mark, still the Van Winkle, LaRue Wellers, the things that you can't get, the Weller line of the different colored labels, whether it's green or red or black or orange or blue or you know, green clover, whatever, Lucky Charms flavor they've got going right now. Most of those are pretty difficult to find. You can usually find the green label stuff around, especially if you're in Texas or in Ohio. But, those are kind of known. There's some others that are kind of in an also ran category for me. Rebel Yell's pretty good. Larceny, especially the barrel proof, is pretty good. But I'm going to talk to you about some others that maybe slightly lesser known in some instances, but things that you can use to bring some diversity or change of pace to your liquor cabinet, especially if you're a wheated bourbon fan. I'll start, and this is in no particular order. Barker's Mill is a wheated bottle and bond from our friends down at MB Rowland, down in Pembroke, Christian County, Kentucky. Again, bottle and bond, 100 proof. The exact mash bill they don't disclose, but they use white corn. Some would have you believe that only their special brand uses white corn, but there are some others that use white corn, and MB Rowland is certainly one of them, and they use it very well. And has red winter wheat and malted barley. This, just a few quick tasting notes. The Whoppers candies? Sure you do. I get that in this bourbon. It's kind of a malty chocolate note to it. Very creamy, vanilla cream kind of stuff, some apple turnover stuff going on here. Really, really good. Price point's probably around $50 or something. So pick you up a bottle. You will not be disappointed in Barker's Mill. Well, really anything that they're doing down at MB Rowland is fantastic. That dark fired bourbon, that's some tasty stuff. I've always said, if you start the night drinking dark fired bourbon, you're just going to end the night drinking dark fired bourbon. Not necessarily the case with the Barker's Mill. That dark fired, that'll really get you, and it kind of spoils you for anything else that you might want to drink. But everything has its place. Next, one of my faves, and this is the bourbon that kind of launched me into craft whiskey, and that is Lee W. Sinclair. And this is Alan Bishop's bourbon. This is a mash bill that he developed when he was 15 years old, and back in the woods on his father's property. And I think I saw him post today that he is recreating this mash bill at his new place over at Old Homestead. He did this Lee W. Sinclair over at the old place. And that is actually what I've got in my glass right now. So cheers. A lot of vanilla, oatmeal cookie, buttered cornbread, hazelnut. Really, really good. And it is 60% corn, 17 wheat, 13 oat, for you oat fans out there, and 10% caramel malt. So check this out. You can find it at your area liquor stores in many states, and you can also order it online. And again, bottled and bond. Oddly enough, 4 of the 5 that I've got here tonight are bottled and bond. That's just coincidence, I suppose, but fantastic stuff. So check that out. Next, these people are doing some really cool stuff. They've always got interesting special releases, limited time offerings. The cigar rye is something that you'll arm wrestle your grandma over if she had a bottle. But Buzzard's Roost, this is their bottle and bond, and this is their only wheated product. and had a buddy of mine, Tom, who really got upset because it doesn't say anywhere on the label that it's wheated, but it is. It is sourced from MGP. It is secondarily aged in the Buzzard's Roost proprietary barrels. It is very high wheat, 51% corn, 45 wheat, 4% malted barley. And this has a lot of brown sugar on it. It is like a, those orange cream savers, the little lifesaver kind of candies, but they're solid. There's no hole in the middle. That are kind of a orange and cream thing. Orange cream savers. There's that note in here for me. This is probably the oakiest of any product I've had from Buzzard's Roost, but not in a bad way. I'm not usually a big oak fan, but there's a little more oak to this one, but it just kind of gives it a little meat on it. Some dark caramel in there too. Fantastic product. These sell out pretty quickly. I think they've got some new ones coming out later in the summer. So when you see one, grab one. I think price point on this is around $70, $65, $70, and it's well worth it. Really good stuff. When I had the distiller on the show for this next one once, and they had started producing this product in pot stills and then converted it to column stills at one point. And so I still had some of the pot still bourbon, and actually sent samples back to him and said, let's taste them side by side and tell me what you think. So, and I am talking about, Dr. Pat Heist was our guest, and I'm talking about Wilderness Trail. And this is their wheated bourbon. It is 64% corn, 24% wheat, 12% malted barley, and another bottled in bond. The verdict was Dr. Pat liked the column still a little better. I like the pot still a little better, which this is actually the last remnants of the pot still wheated bourbon from Wilderness Trail that I have. Butterscotch notes, some vanilla, fresh cut wood, there's a kind of an earthiness there to it. Chocolate covered cherries and a little bit of mint. A lot of good stuff going on in this. They make some great bourbons. One of the most surprising things that I tried all year was a Wilderness Trail product that I didn't like, because everything they've done I've just thought is fantastic, and I'm a big fan of their rye. But had grabbed a store pick of their bottled and bond rye, and it wasn't good. And I was floored, and I gave it to a few friends to try because they were excited. They said, "Oh yeah, we love Wilderness Trail rye," and tried it, and they didn't like it either. I don't know. I guess there's a clunker out there for everything, but don't let that dissuade you. You see some Wilderness Trail on the shelf, you got a 99.9% chance that it's going to be something fantastic. So check those guys out. They do wonderful work, and have just been hugely successful. So congratulations to them and all they're doing. Speaking of huge, this next one is Bardstown Bourbon Company, and they started out, collaborative series and discovery series, and where they were using very small quantities of their own distillate that was still pretty young. So once some of their stuff started hitting 6 years old, they started putting it out in what they called the Origin series, and they came out with a bottle and bond rye bourbon, and then they came out with a wheated bourbon. And this is the gem of the gems. This is the high wheat bourbon. Not quite as high wheat as the Buzzard's Roost, but 53 corn, 39 wheat, 8% malted barley. And this is a favorite. Just think it's fantastic, and I think all the Origin Series stuff is great there. So do yourself a favor. I think it's like $45 or something. Why are you chasing Weller when you can just walk in the door of your local liquor store and pick this up for $45? So do it. You will not be disappointed. A lot of caramel in it, some apples, some toffee. There's a little bit of light fruit like peach or pear. And this is anti-tannic. It kind of makes your mouth water instead of drying it out, which I think is fantastic. So Bardstown Bourbon Company, high wheat bourbon. So to sum up, we had M.B. Rowland's Barker's Mill, Alan Bishop's Lee W. Sinclair, Buzzard's Roost Bottled and Bond, Wilderness Trail Wheated, and Bardstown Bourbon Company High Wheat Bourbon. And this one's 106 proof. I don't think I mentioned that. So those are some really good wheated bourbons. If you're into wheated bourbons, you could grab any one of these. Most of them are readily available. The Buzzard's Roost Bottled and Bond kind of will come and go, but it'll be back, and you'll be able to get it. But yeah, I highly recommend that you check those out. They are all well worth your time. Good to just sip on while you're watching a game, or with a group of friends. If you're going to do like a little party with some fellow bourbon lovers, you could do a whole lot worse than having these 5 in your flight. And I would challenge you, if you think Weller's the be all end all, do some blind tastings and just see what shakes out. I think you'll be surprised how competitive these 5 would be, even to your most avid Weller lovers. So wheat, wheat is a bountiful grain, across the fruited plains and all that good stuff. But did you know, grab another water here, the top 5 wheat producing states in the U.S.? I bet you don't. Now you probably guess 1 or 2 of them, but you won't. I doubt that you would guess them all. The first, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the top 5 wheat producing states, and I'm going to tell you the best musical artist or band from that state, and this really goes some wild places. So we're going to start with North Dakota. North Dakota is the #1 wheat producer in the United States. And if you search musicians from North Dakota, there's not a lot that you're going to find. But one that I did find is Lawrence Welk. Yes, Lawrence Welk is making an appearance on Bourbon Turntable. Lawrence Welk, if you're of a certain age, as I am, you probably remember seeing the Lawrence Welk show on Sunday evenings. And I remember sitting with my parents, my grandparents, and we would watch Lawrence Welk show, and then we would watch Hee Haw. So that was what we would do. Lawrence Welk is a band leader that was, I guess, popular back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and very odd gentleman, had a very thick, I don't remember if it was German or Polish accent, but yes, the number one wheat producing state is North Dakota, and the number one musician produced from that state is Lawrence Welk. Now, the second one you would have guessed Kansas. You would have absolutely guessed the state of Kansas, if I can get this to come up, and for some reason it's not. Anyway, the band from Kansas. So the number 2 state is Kansas. I would have thought it would be number 1, but it was number 2. And the number 1 band out of Kansas is Kansas. You had great prog rock band of the 70s. Point of No Return, Left Overture, Carry On My Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind, kind of a sleeper hit for me from them was Hold On. Steve Walsh on keys was just amazing. And Kerry Livgren in the late 80s, early 90s, when Kansas broke up for a while, he started a prog rock Christian band called AD. And I had a friend named Daryl back in college, and we would just listen to all of the AD albums together, and because we were really into Kansas and really into Jesus. So then it's work. So, so number 2 state and producing whiskey was Kansas, and the number 1 musician out of the state of Kansas is the band Kansas. That's really kind of sucking up, isn't it? What's the best band out of Boston? Aerosmith. Number 3 wheat producing state is Montana. Okay, so Montana. If you thought finding prominent musical acts in North Dakota was hard, why do you try Montana? I will say there are kind of 2 that I'll mention, and one, it's a band called Page and the People's Band, and I can't find any of their music online. I found a few videos of it, and what I saw, I thought was fantastic. It's kind of a jam band, Tedeschi Trucks feel to it. But this is Page and the People's Band. A lot of instrumentation, really cool stuff going on, but they need some music out there where I can listen to it, and they need to come on Bourbon Turntable. So there. But if you don't like that, because you can't really, there's not a whole lot you can go out there and find. They do have like a pretty long appearance on some PBS show where they play for about 45 minutes or so. So if you're into lesser known or regionally known or statewide famous jam bands, then Page and the People's Band may be for you. But Jeff Ament is a bass player for Pearl Jam, also was in Mother Love Bone, if you want to start the grunge era, and Temple of the Dog. So Montanan Jeff Ament. So number 3 on our wheat producing states is Montana, with producing Page and the People's Band, a band that you've never heard of and cannot listen to because you can't find their music, or Jeff Ament if you go towards the grunge route. So we're through our first 3 wheat producing states, and I hope you're having fun with this. Because I am. Next on the list, and this is where we get some controversy. The 4th state in producing wheat is the state of Washington, or as some people from East Tennessee would call it Washington, but it is Washington. So the state of Washington. Now, I know what you're saying. You gotta go with Nirvana. Nirvana's the one. You got to say Nirvana. I think the bass player held his bass guitar a little too low, so he's out. No, I think Nirvana is fantastic and obviously very influential. But you also have to remember Jimmy's from there. And sadly, we both lost both Kurt Cobain and Jimi Hendrix at the age of 27. They're in the 27 Club. But if I had to, got to pick one. I'm going with Jimmy. And so the number 4 wheat producing state in America is the state of Washington, and the number 1 musician that they've produced, Jimi Hendrix. Not too shabby, Washington. Not too shabby. Now, we may have a little more controversy here with our final state. So, you just got to bear with me here. The number 5 state is the state of Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping through the wheat. Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma, lots of musicians from there. So, there was one that just really surprised me. It's from Oklahoma. You got Garth is from there. Merle is from there. Reba's from there. Roy Clark, aforementioned Hee Haw, which was the show that was adjacent to on the TV listings to Lawrence Welk Show. Roy Clark is from there. Our good friend Drew Crawley is from Oklahoma. I love you, Drew, but I can't say you're the best musician to come out of the state of Oklahoma. You're my best friend to come out of the state of Oklahoma. I say that. And you ought to check out Drew's new album. It's really, really good stuff. So big plug for Drew, Oklahoman, one of the top 10 musicians ever out of the state of Oklahoma. The Gat Band is out of Oklahoma. They are the Gat Band has the new national anthem for Iran. You dropped a bomb on me. Sorry, that's a really bad joke. But the Gat Band is from Oklahoma. Never would have thought that. I could have guessed 40 more states before I would have got to Oklahoma. But a personal favorite out of Oklahoma is one Vince Gill. Vince has that gorgeous high tenor voice. I think that's just, if you say, who's got a great high tenor voice? Vince Gill's probably the first name on my list. And a really, really excellent guitarist. Also a Nashville Predators fan, such as I am. So that's it. That's our our top 5 states producing wheat, and the top musicians that each of those states produce. But I think most of these people are sourcing their wheat locally. I know Barker's Mill does. These guys do. I'm not really sure where MGP sources their wheat. It may be coming from North Dakota or Kansas. Who knows? Wilderness Trail, probably the same kind of thing. They go through a lot of wheat, so it may be, it may not be locally sourced, but big deal. Then Bardstown Bourbon Company, again, they're kind of a big operation. It's a gigantic factory down there, but somehow they still make fantastic, very tasty bourbon, high wheat bourbon. All right, so that is that for this Wheated Bourbon Show. Hope you enjoyed it. A little goofy, but I had fun with it. Hopefully you did too. So got some great guests coming up soon. Nick Goverick is going to join me. Nick has his first solo album out. Nick has been a musician for many, many years in Nashville. He's been in bands like Trigger Hippie and Bagmen, who we've talked about quite a bit on the show in the past. And man, this new album he's got is just fantastic. Some of the best songwriting that you'll see. Alan Bishop's going to be back with us. We're going to be tasting some of the things he's making down at Old Homestead. And we'll catch up with him. I think we're going to talk some Queens of the Stone Age with Alan. Eric Wolf is also going to be on soon. We're going to be talking about some Rose and Rye, and that'll be a lot of fun. And matter of fact, I got a package in the mail today where I'd ordered some Rose and Rye, and I may crack that thing open once I end recording. So appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, whatever. If you don't like the show, tell your enemies. Waste a half hour of their time. But be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching. Hope to see you again next week. Cheers.